You are in a secure area, so I'm going to ask you if you'd be so kind as to cut off your recording device and exit my station.
I've been a fan of yours for a while. I spoke to you years ago with Vince Vaughn for Craig Zoller's movie.
Yeah, I remembered your name actually, and I'm a big fan of Collider. So
I say thank you. That's fucking awesome. So I just spoke to Vince for Bad Monkey, and he told me that he's filming with Zoller a new movie early next year.
No
so I have
kidding.
to ask you: have you gotten the call?
Not yet, but I will. I'm Zoller's muse, I think.
I need you guys teaming up again because the last time you did was fantastic.
It was pretty good, wasn't it?
Yeah, it really is. It really was. So I have to ask you, obviously, Miami Vice, iconic series, with all the reboots and sequels and everything that's been going on, how have they never made a new Miami Vice? Do you know what I mean? Like, it's pretty crazy.
I heard there was, I didn't hear the show, but there was a Joe Rogan show on not too long ago, and a friend of mine told me that he had heard it, and apparently he and somebody else were singing my praises about how Sonny Crockett was the greatest character of all time, and there hasn't been anyone before or since that has filled those shoes. And I'm not saying that. That's Joe Rogan and somebody else. I feel that way about the period of time and the texture of the 80s and so on and so forth. It's different now. You know, it's hard to, it could be done. I have a plan for it, but there's so many people with their thumbs in the pie now and so many iterations that it's just hard to, cut through all of that and really find, you know, the gem that we found back then.
It's also crazy. People forget you were doing like 20-something episodes a season, which is like a lot for that show.
Yeah, you're not kidding. Sometimes we were doing 24, and I think one year we did 26.
I mean, it's crazy. People don't realize like what that takes. You know, from the writing to the crew to everything.
It's insane. It's insane. It's chaos, and basically you're tired before you begin, and then you go from tired to oblivious to just like on automatic. It's incredible.
Completely. You've done so many roles through the years, and I'm always curious with actors. Do you remember one shot or sequence that was really, really challenging? Like one of the most challenging you've ever done, whether it be a camera move, dialogue with camera move, whatever it may be.
You know, Steve, I have done so many challenging things that other actors probably wouldn't do. Because I mean, if you're going to be in a show around the same people all the time, I just say, you know, well, we ought to all be able to do everybody's job. And so I'll drive boats in stunt sequences and stuff like that. Cars, I was better with the boats than the stunt guys, and that's not me saying it. That's the stunt guys. And so action sequences and stuff like that. I'm athletic, so I liked doing a lot of those things. I'm paying for it now, but yeah, I don't. I hope that answers your question.
No, 100%. Jumping into why I get to talk to you, I thought Jeremy did such a good job with this movie.
So did I.
Yeah, he is just what I call talented behind the camera.
Yeah.
How much fun is it actually playing the bad guy?
I love playing all different types of characters, and I especially love playing this bad guy because this bad guy is actually a good guy. In all the bad guys that I ever play, I find the humanity because they're even bad guys, even, dare I say it, some of the most heinous people in history were human. And to deny the humanity is to deny yourself. And so playing villains is a pretty exciting part of the equation because when in discovering the humanity and why they do certain things that they do, it's like they were inexorably drawn on a string by their DNA to be at that place, that spot, that time for that incident to happen.
Listen, I understand why he's doing what he's doing in this movie.
Oh, yeah.
Jumping into talking about Jeremy, I really enjoy his writing and directing. He's also editing. What was he actually like as a collaborator? Was there anything that surprised you about working with him?
Well, yeah. I mean, and Jeremy knows this because we talked about it. When I first arrived, Jeremy wasn't. He hadn't worked with somebody with my experience, and so the first day he's directing the hard way. Setting up a shot and then backing the actors into it and into the blocking and stuff like that. And I said, hey, there's a between the three or four of us in this scene, we've got 150 years of experience. You got to take advantage of that. And I said, let's do this scene again, and I'm going to rehearse it first and see where it falls in naturally, and then you figure out how you want to shoot it. And he stopped and he thought about it a second, and it was like it hadn't occurred to him. And then I did it, and he said, "Oh yeah." And so it became a mix of the way that I was trained of how to do it. You go and find the character as opposed to backing into a character device of some sort, And he came to embrace it and I think we both got better out of the process.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've spoken to a lot of filmmakers, and they all talk about how you don't really go to other people's sets to watch how people do things.
Yeah.
It's you do your own thing. But like an actor, you get to watch all the directors, and you've directed, so you pick it all up.
Well, that's the other thing is that I was trained classically, and so for me, doing a rehearsal or like when I worked with Sidney Lumet on Guilty as Sin, we rehearsed for 2 weeks just as if we were doing a stage play. We marked out all the stuff on the floor and masking tape, and we created all the rooms, and we pantomimed the props, and we did all that, and we rehearsed just like we were going to put it up on a stage play, so that by the time we got to the set and were ready to film, we were ready because we were already off book, and that's a very efficient way. It's the only way that Sidney knew how to direct because he had come from theater, and it was one of the ways that I knew how. But I've worked with all different kinds of directors who Quentin Tarantino is also one of those guys that has an idea of what he wants to see. But the way I worked with Quentin was I would say, okay, what do you want to see? And he'd say, well, I'm looking at this. I want to do. I said, okay, now let me fool around in the space for a second, and then we'll get back together. And he would, and so I would do my thing, and that was that. And we had a great working relationship.